So this is my 2011 Ducati Multistrada. I think it's still the original chain. I bought the bike second hand, so I'm not positive. But it seems to be. The bike's now done 20,000 miles, and in preparation for a really big tour, we're going to replace the chain and sprockets before heading off. Sprockets do look okay, but the manual says to replace them as a set, so that's what I'm going to do. Lifting off, doing this sort of lift test on the back. There's very little movement, but what has made me do this is that the lateral movement in the chain there, and just the kind of general, seems to me to mean it could do with being replaced. So far I've got the wheel nut off using a gigantic 55mm socket, and tap back the washer on the front sprocket and tap that off. I've done that before taking off the chain so that I could use the gearbox and then someone standing on the rear brake to keep it locked. It does need a second pair of hands and that. I've also taken most of the cush rubber bolts off the top of the plate before taking it off as well, just to make it a bit easier, although there's one of them that's spinning, so I'm just waiting to attack that. And then next job, cut the chain off. So that's the chain split. Just cut it in the end with a Dremel to try with the chain breaking tool, but just a bit worried I was going to break the tool, which is kind of probably more critical for riveting the new chain rather than getting this one off, so just cut it in the end. So just using a rubber mallet and a wooden drift from behind, just tap the sprocket very gently forward off the axle, so that's it. Ready to just slide off. Will slide off, maybe not with one hand, but it'll slide off. So we've got the hub off. I'm going to give the adjuster ring and axle there a jolly good clean, because it's unlikely to be off again, especially given that I'm installing a carrier system to hold the new sprocket, so that I don't have to take the hub off again in order to change the sprocket the next time. So the cush rubbers just fell out of their holders on the socket, so I'm just going to give them and the hub a clean up, but that is just going in a bin. Just a closer look at that. So it doesn't really look worn, but I'm pretty sure it has done 20,000 miles, but it looks like it. Anyway, getting changed, whatever. So, new sprocket with the carrier done separately, giving the cush rubbers a bit of a clean, not massively, but clean enough. So just give everything a bit of a wee smear of grease as a go, tighten the carrier bolts to the right torque and the cush rubbers. Just have to check those. So yeah, tighten the carrier nuts. One here, they go to 20 Newton meters, so not too tight, but they are nylock nuts. And then the cush to 44 Newton meters. And then onto the hub. And then we'll be ready to grease the hub up a little bit, not massively, just a bit of a smear, and then pull it all back together. Job done, or part one anyway. So just working in a star pattern, a little knob of grease on each one as I go, just tying them to the first stop and then torque them afterwards. So that's the sprocket attached to the carrier and torqued up, and then each of these ports for the cush rubbers, including the little seat, which is a feature that's not on the OEM sprocket. Yeah, a bit of just a smear of grease on all of those just to stop them seizing. So that's a new sprocket attached. and then that kind of tightened a little bit, but not torqued. I'll torque it once the tuning and so on is installed. So now that that's done, I'll move on to front sprocket. Just one small tip, I suppose, or two tips actually. So one, I've adjusted using the factory C-spanner. I've loosened off the chain tension already, ready for the new chain going on. And also, just to make life easier, I actually removed the rear footrest just to stop it getting so much in the way. So the next job is front sprocket, which I've already cracked the nut off. So I'm just going to remove the socket, give it a clean, and then fit in the new sprocket. So this should be relatively straightforward. So I didn't do this with the rear sprocket, but just front sprocket, I've just kind of lined the old one and the new one up. There's the old one on top. So it doesn't really look that worn when you look at it by itself, but just comparing it to the other one, there is just signs of some wear. So I do think it's the original sprocket. So to be honest, given it's done 20,000 miles, it's in pretty good nick, but obviously it's not going to do another 20, so best to change it. So that's it. I had a bit of a clean. I've deliberately not removed this space out because there's no point, because I'm not going to do anything about it. And all that would happen is I'd have to replace the O-ring underneath it, which I'm happy what they're doing. So certainly, given that that's going to live under cover for the rest of its life, that's good enough for me. So a new chain on, rivet links done. Do need to just give them a quick double check, but they're basically done. So that's the whole job. Chain sprockets changed. Need to adjust the chain, torque the axle nut, torque the sprocket nut. Good to go.